Evening, ladies as well as gentlemen. I'm Papa Boris, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to play Elder Scrolls Legends, a fairly new collectible card game that is free to play, that is in the Elder Scrolls universe, of course. I want to say before I get started that if you want just like an overview of the game, then I highly recommend Force Channel Gaming's video on this game. Mine is going to be a little bit different. We're actually going to get in there and play a full game so you can explore most of the mechanics. At the end of the sample game, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the game modes. Alright, let's go ahead and jump into practice here. We're going to play against an AI. Sure, we'll make it an expert. And I'll take just a crappy old regular deck here. So a few quick words on deck building. In this game, there are several different colors of cards. You got red, blue, yellow, purple, green, and I think that's all of them. There's also some colorless cards. In that way, it's kind of similar to Magic. I'd honestly say this game is sort of like a cross between Magic and Hearthstone. It's very clearly inspired by both games. Now, one major difference is that in Magic, while there are 5 colors of cards and a colorless type of card, each type of color corresponds to a different type of mana. So green cards need to be played with green mana, red cards have to be played with red mana, and so on. This game does not have that. It is like Hearthstone in that mana is neutral and you can use mana to play cards of any color. So the restriction in here is that you are only allowed to have 2 different colors of cards in your deck. So when you start adding red cards to your deck, you can keep adding red cards all the way through, but once you add like a blue card to your deck, now boom, you're locked in. You can only add more red cards, blue cards, and of course the neutral cards, which suck, but can be added to any deck. So I'm going to go ahead and play red and blue. I find that that is pretty easy. I feel like the red cards in particular are very nice, at least to make things easy when you're starting out. In this game, you start with 1 mana, like in Hearthstone, and your opponent starts with 30 hit points, like in Hearthstone, and your objective is to take your opponent down to 0 hit points, you guessed it, like in Hearthstone. Now, the mulligan system works, oh, surprise, like Hearthstone, in that you can choose which cards you want to keep and which cards you want to mulligan. This is actually a very low-cost hand, so I'm going to go ahead and keep everything here. The second player does not get an extra card. However, what the second player gets is a support card in play called the Elixir of Magicka, which can be used 3 times to gain 1 Magicka. So it's kind of like getting 3 copies of the coin in Hearthstone, except that support cards can only be activated once per turn. So I could not activate this, 3 times and play a 4-drop on turn 1. So I think it's pretty cool. It's actually the first collectible card game I've played where it felt like whatever advantage you got as the second player wasn't just like a token advantage. In Magic and Hearthstone, second player just gets an extra card. In Hearthstone, second player gets an extra card and the coin, and it still feels better to be first most of the time. This game is the first game where it's like, wow, it's actually kind of close. Being able to use a Magicka boost 3 times certainly is nice. Now, I do like this game a lot. If I didn't like this game, I wouldn't be making a video on it. And although I've been sort of joking about how this game is very similar to Hearthstone, here we see the first major difference, which is that there are 2 lanes. Each lane can hold 4 creatures for each player. In the default game mode, there's a normal lane which has no special rules, and the shadow lane. If you summon a creature into the shadow lane, the creature has cover, and cover is kind of like stealth in Hearthstone, but a little bit less. So creatures that have cover can't be attacked by other creatures, but they can be targeted by spells. However, this does mean that pushing damage through in this game is a little bit easier than in other collectible card games, because when you play a creature, if your opponent doesn't have a spell or some other kind of creature effect to destroy that creature, you are gonna get that damage through. So you have to be a little bit more careful. You're always a little bit more vulnerable in this game. Otherwise, combat works like Hearthstone, not like Magic, in the sense that when you have a creature, you can attack either the opponent or another creature. The only difference is that you can only attack enemy creatures that are in your lane. So if I summon a Fiery Imp into this lane, then I can only attack creatures that are in the same lane as the Fiery Imp. I cannot cross the lane to attack a creature over here in the Shadow lane. Let's go ahead and pop this Elixir of Magicka. One thing that I hope you can see right off the bat is that the graphics in this game are spectacular. So I've played Duelist, I've played RuneScape Legends, and those games definitely have a little bit more of a budget look to them, shall we say. This game is incredibly well polished. The graphics are fantastic. The interface is actually really nice. Like, it's a really well made interface. It's a pleasure to just click things and play through this game. So I enjoy it for those reasons. So notice this creature has cover, so I cannot just like equip this Steel Scimitar on my Crown Quartermaster and kill the thing. So like that's a thing that you have to consider here. I will still do this. So this game has items And they're pretty strong, especially because of the cover rule. So you can like summon a creature to the cover lane, then the opponent has a hard time killing it, then you equip an item on it, and then boom, you hit for tons of damage. Also, I don't know why it's lagging so much, but whatever. Okay, so now notice these 5 blue things. When you drop to 25 health, 20 health, 15 health, 10 health, and finally 5 health, the corresponding rune cracks, and you draw a card, which is kind of cool in this game. It basically means that card advantage is not quite as important as in other collectible card games, because if you fall behind on cards, chances are your opponent's going to damage you, and then you're going to catch up on cards every time you lose 5 hit points. It's not exactly every time you lose 5 hit points. In this game, like in Magic, you can heal above maximum. So what triggers losing the first rune is not losing 5 hit points, but rather hitting 25 health. There are also cards which have the Prophecy keyword. Prophecy means that if you draw this card as a result of one of your runes breaking, you get to play it immediately. And that's really cool because it offers a little bit of a catch-up mechanic, and it adds some, tension to the game. Now when I attack my opponent with this Fiery Imp, this rune will break. Will something terrible happen? I don't know. You kind of have to find out 5 times every game that you play. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and just pop another Dose of Magicka here and play this guy. He's in the cover lane, so this creature cannot just kill him. So I got 4 damage sitting here. Granted, it's kind of hard to use because if something is summoned into the shadow lane, I won't be able to attack it, but I could deal a lot of damage to my opponent. Alright, so my opponent also equips one of these swords, kills my creature, and that's just very sad. Okay, so now I'm actually falling a little bit behind here. Why don't we go ahead and pop our final dose of Magicka. I'm gonna summon this Ash Servant over here. Note that I can use its summoning ability on either creature. So this thing's ability is when you summon it, deal 2 damage. So that is not limited to the lane the creature is in. That can be any creature. That of course is a legal target. Let's go ahead and attack with the Imp. Actually, no, let's attack with this guy first, breaking the next rune of my opponent. So, luckily, no Prophecy effects were triggered. And now I'm falling behind on cards, and I'm going to fall behind on the board over here, so I'm going to hope to try to push through enough damage to beat this Blind Crusader and hopefully win the game. Uh-oh. Alright, one quick note. In this game, battle cries work even if the creature is summoned from places other than your hand. So that's an important thing to consider. There are also other keywords that you don't see in Hearthstone. So there's Guard, which is kind of like Taunt, and it works the same way. But there's Drain, which I don't have at the moment, but I feel like I should mention. That's very strong. It's like lifelink in Magic, and that's really crazy because when you can play a creature and then equip a weapon on it and then like heal back all the damage that you deal, it can get really, really crazy really, really fast. Alright, so we're going to play the Assassin's Bow on my hard hitter here. What this does is it gives it cover at the end of the turn, so unless my opponent gets a damage spell of some kind to take this guy out, I could potentially just finish up the game with him, and we're just going to go all in here. So now I'm going to go ahead and whack him for 8 damage, breaking 2 of his runes. Luckily he didn't get any Prophecy cards. Then I'll hit him again, and now I just hold my breath because this guy, thanks to the weapon I equipped, gains cover. These 2 creatures can't attack it, but he got a Piercing Javelin to destroy my creature, and now I'm in trouble. So now my opponent's got a bunch of creatures on the board, and I got squat. However, I now get cards every time my opponent breaks the rune. So it really is, I like this. It's definitely not like a gimmicky system. It really feels like a meaningful feature of the game. So Ward is like Divine Shield in Hearthstone. It means the first time you take damage, all the damage is absorbed. And this guy summons a Frost Atronach when it loses a ward. And what I like about this game is that most of the time, okay, I realize it didn't do it here, but most of the time the tooltips for the card tell you what type of creature you're going to be summoning. So in Hearthstone it'll be like summon 2 Boombots or something, and you have no idea what the fuck they are. But in this game, it'll actually tell you, like, blah, blah, blah is a, 3-2 with whatever. Okay, so we got Prophecy, which means I actually, even though it's my opponent's turn, I get to summon this Shrieking Harpy, and I'm going to shackle this thing that's just about to attack me to stop it from attacking me. Shackle is like freeze in Hearthstone. Alright, this is good because I really, really needed to get some damage through and try to win this game, I'm going to go ahead and silence this dude, which is getting an attack boost. Silence works the same way as in Hearthstone. It strips a creature of all of its statuses and abilities. Let's play this guy to give +1. Whack this thing down to 2 health. And let's go ahead and play the Sharpshooter Scout. And so notice, you know, because I have cover on these creatures, my opponent can't just attack them and kill them. Also, because there's 2 lanes and his creatures are all in the other lane, he still can't attack them or kill them even if they hadn't had cover. So let's see if my opponent can stop from losing. All right, he's got some removal. And by the way, this choppiness is not the game's fault. I have no idea why it's so laggy right now. It's been fine every single other time I've played. All right, last gasp is Death Rattle. Like, so when the creature dies, it does a certain effect. And that was some big-ass fucking thing, but it's okay. We managed to win barely. We destroy this taunting creature. The guard, as it's called, only applies to creatures in that lane, so if my creature had been in the other lane, I would not be forced to attack it. And then with my last dude, I finished my opponent off. So gameplay's a little bit faster paced. I don't know, I've not played a whole lot of ranked, because the single player support for this game is actually remarkably good for a collectible card game. I'll do that in the next video, is play the solo arena. Yeah, so I don't know how good the balance is, but it really seems like it's a lot more faster paced, and it's harder to make a good control deck, and it's more about, you know, pushing damage through. But I could be wrong. Maybe when people have all the cards and can build whatever deck they want, then control becomes more of a thing. But for the most part, it's fast paced, and honestly, I like that. I like the sort of wet and wild game because it really makes a lot of the matches feel tense and go back and forth, and very exciting. So there are different ways to play it. I just played in practice mode where you'll spend approximately 0 of your time. Story mode's really cool. It does give a fair amount of rewards, and the story itself isn't even that bad. So I recommend playing through it when you first download the game, and it is free, of course, to download. Versus Battle is your typical thing. Unlike RuneScape Legends, there's a casual mode as well as a ranked mode, so you can kind of test things out. And what's really cool, I think, is the solo arena. This is what I'll do in the next video, so we'll talk about it more then. And then there's versus arena where you can play against other people, and it's very similar to Hearthstone. You build a deck, choosing 1 card out of 3 randomly proffered cards before you, and then you play until you either win, I think, 9 or 12 times, or lose 3 times. So very, very similar to Hearthstone's mode. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this look at the game and how the mechanics work. I will see you again soon for some solo arena action where we will see more of the in-depth gameplay and strategies. Take care, everybody.